Shout out to New York for those who are watching. The angry anime fan here with a broken sunglass. It's definitely gonna fall off. Oh, hey, or at least I'm gonna do a bad pun by saying, hey, what? Haven't you heard of bad fashion trend? It is in this season, especially given that despair is very strong in the air of Nanatsu no Taizai. Not in the storyline, although I may not always agree with the chapters they release, mostly because it's just a bundle of despair in that picture, and that the characters do not beat the bad guy immediately. It's definitely not bad or anything. This was by an actually quite a emotional chapter. Yes, hi for those who are watching. The Angry Anime fan from New York here to uh, give you Nanatsu no Taizai chapter 252. And what I just said before, I don't necessarily hate what Nanatsu no Taizai sometimes do, but there are some episodes I just do not agree with them with. And this, in a part, is something I do not agree with. Because it turns out that the reason why the fourth Archangel isn't there with them, it's not because the fourth Archangel is so powerful that it can't be there. No, it is simply because, or if it's a he, that he's dead. Way to waste a character, you know. Well, either way. But other than that, this chapter actually had some emotionality. As we see Elizabeth and her adopted father walking in the courtyard, and we see the tree when she climbed up to, which the king also climbed up to because, well, he was worried about Elizabeth. And strange enough, that tree is so tall that it actually reminds me of a fairy tree, given to the fact that the former fairy king's forest is buried underneath Leones. Wonder if it's not a connection. Either way, Elizabeth only climbed that because the view was nice from up there, and also because she wanted attention from her father. But it's actually it's also revealed that the reason why Elizabeth always covered her eye with her other hair was not just because that was a fashion trend. That was actually because out of insecurity. Because when her father was wounded, that was the first time her power manifested. The same thing with Veronica. So, she actually began to worry that she really was different from her family. That wasn't related by blood. So she covered her hair with her eye to hide her insecurity and the fact that she could never take off the stigma light. And so the king begins to smile at that, but also begins to cry as he believes that he did not want to believe that the curse or the fact that Elizabeth's time is short, and the fact that even though they have lived the best they could, they have still been stricken with a merciless ruthlessness. And when the king cries about that, I actually felt for him. Because even though Elizabeth is not related to him by blood, he has loved her like a daughter. And even though this Elizabeth has now her memories of the real goddess Elizabeth, she still loves this king as her father, because Elizabeth is just that kind. She doesn't care what kind of past she came from. She remembers the situation right now, and Elizabeth swears that she will not make she will that Margaret will not suffer the same fate as she did. As father and adopted daughter hug, Elizabeth can only say, "I may not have been much of a model daughter, but please just let me be your daughter for 2 more days." I mean, that scene. I mean, for a lot of people, it may be cliche, but actually, I felt that scene was very emotional. And then we're switched back uh, Dreyfus and his son talking, and they are worried about what Margaret being possessed and what's gonna happen next, and that Henderson is acting weird. And that is also because the Druids are worshipped to their faith, so it is like that. Dreyfus' son begins to wonder, though, that they were saved by the goddesses. They are our saviors. However, Dreyfus actually begins to talk about that the goddess clan has a power to brainwash others. This may actually also explain why they had the power to get all the other species on their side, other than just the fact that they are excellent emotional manipulators, but it turns out that they really can brainwash others, not just possess them. And it turns out that Dreyfus knows this because he shared um, Fraulin's body. Fraudin may have been a villain in the end, but the strange thing is, in a way, Dreyfus and well, you know, Grim, Dreyfus and Fraudrin, for a strange way, connected. because it's the fact that he may have he Fraudrin may have had morals of that and that. However, he still saw his fellow brethren killed by the goddess clan. So in a way, one wonder. So with that, there's a banquet with the three archangels begins to talk. So Hendrickson asks the sensitive question, "What happened to the fourth?" And they all give him a death glare. And so the Azure Pink appear. No, not the Azure Pink. The Azure Sky appears, and they actually demand to know that because their leader was sacrificed because he was possessed by Nerobasta, and Nerobasta refused to protect their honor, even though they begged her to. So he has a very difficult time to trust the goddess's plan, and saying that, "Don't you understand our tears?" And strangely enough, Ludoshel in Margaret's body begins to tears. But if you ask me, I think those are only crocodile tears, because they begin to talk about that they sacrificed many, and their bodies have vanished, and now. And that is something that does not discriminate human or goddesses. And he strangely says that they are not gods. They are beings with blood and tears, just as such. And even if you cannot trust us, at least let us give us a gift. And with them, Ludoshel fires a breath of bless, which actually empowers the Azure Sky. But if you ask me, I think that is more than just a power-up. I think that is a small brainwashing or an emotional manipulation, because I think the Goddess Clan cannot just only brainwash subjects. I think they can play on their emotions so they can become loyal to them. Say that he says this, even if you cannot trust us as allies, this is our blessed good neighbors. So this will be useful for fighting any death prayers. So he says that. I have misunderstood the Goddess Clan. So, but it's only after that that Ludoshel answers Hendrickson's question about what happened to Mael. And as I said in the beginning, Mael was killed by none other than Estarosa a long time ago. Or maybe it wasn't a long time ago. Maybe it was just recently. Who knows? But Mael was killed. And strangely enough, I think there was a rumor that said that Mael was the strongest of the four archangels. So how come he could be killed by Estarosa is anyone's guess. But then again, Estarosa has been implied to be actually stronger than he appears to be. It wouldn't surprise me if he has power to rival everything else. In a way, this is an emotional one, but if you ask me, I feel like the most emotional is the father and adopted daughter talk. Ludoshel's talk about that and that. For some reason, that did not convince me. Dreyfus's talk about not trusting the Goddess Clan, that affected me more than the talk about Ludoshel saying they have been humbled a little. Because if you ask me, I do not think they have been humbled. Or he's telling the truth. I mean, in the end, we do not know. We do not know. But we shouldn't trust completely the Goddess Clan. If they can brainwash other people, then there's no doubt that they can actually do all this. And given the fact that what Ludoshel said everything up until now, yeah, I cannot trust him, even if he can empower them. So who knows what will happen? Who knows indeed what will happen? But I really thought we were going to see Mael. Turns out we will not see Mael, because Mael is already dead. And next chapter is called... and also they gave a death glare to Hendrickson when he asked that. I guess they don't hold Hendrickson in a high standard. Or maybe talking about the deceased is a sensitive subject for them. Or something else entirely. Strangely enough, next chapter is called Fallen from Grace. Is that the chapter where we will see Mael die, or is there something else? You give me your thoughts, if you have any.